My name is Joey,
My name is James.
and this is the Brothers Padre.
Hello, Brothers Padre fans. As many of you know, there was an incident that happened in DC this weekend. It was a tragedy, and we have to talk about it. And so when Joey and I started this podcast, we wanted to avoid the topics of politics as much as we could, because we wanted to talk about what makes baseball fun to us.
Home runs, stolen bases,
Yeah, the Padres,
funny hair, all sorts of stuff.
everything. That's what we want to talk about. So people have, listeners have asked why we didn't cover the controversy at the All-Star game this year, because Major League Baseball is going to do Major League Baseball stupid stuff. That's what made
And we just don't really care.
we didn't. It's also just that's not the purity of that's not purity. That's not the goal of sports. It's not the goal of the Padres. Right. And it was to watch, to be entertained by this sport that we love is what we wanted to do. And another thing that if you notice, we haven't talked about a certain Dodger pitcher. I love rag on
Yeah,
Dodgers.
listen, most of our feedback is like, man, he really hates the Dodgers.
I do hate the Dodgers, but I have not been talking about certain Dodger pitcher who's in trouble with the law, because we do know kids listen to this podcast, and we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
We want to have a friendly atmosphere here and just talk about a sport that you and I love and you and I have talked about since we were kids. And unfortunately, this incident happened to the Padres, and we're going to have to talk about this. Is going to be a bit of a downer episode. We're going to try to make it light at the end, but this is what we have to talk about right off the bat, because
We have to talk about it because it literally interrupts the game.
yeah, it stopped the game. The top of the sixth inning, it stopped and it ended it, and we had to continue the next day. It was, to say the least, scary to watch.
Yeah.
And
Should I just recap what happened?
okay,
James and I are watching different, we do this stuff at night and we just watch the game. We text throughout every game. We try to. And then all of a sudden on our side, how we're experiencing this is we see Don and Tony Jr. like, we have no idea what's going on. And you just see the shots of people like fleeing the stadium. You see people there's no one behind home plate, and you see people rush into the dugouts. And the announcers have no idea, and they just shut the broadcast down. So then we're on Twitter, and then we find out, they've heard gunshots. And this is the crazy thing about living in the modern age, is that the information given to us the quickest was, we heard gunshots in the stadium. Not that there's gunshots outside, because what happened was DC is the place that it is. There's a drive-by shooting. 3 people were shot in one car shot another car, and unfortunately someone was shot, like a fan was shot who was on the sidewalk.
a Washington Nationals fan. She was wounded. Is expect to make a full recovery, though.
Thankfully no one died, but in that moment, Washington Nationals PA came out. I mean, no one really knows. That's what we know now, being a few days out. But at the moment it happened, the Washington public address announcement was like, hey, do not leave, stay in place, like shelter in place, basically. And then you see all of these fans freaking out. You see people leaving, and you kind of see...
At one point, you saw a mass exodus leave the stadium.
Yeah.
But then the security said you can't leave the stadium. They all ran back on the field. And because our announcers weren't traveling with the team, they weren't getting any live information.
Yep.
Because they were apparently the Nationals broadcast was getting more up-to-date information than the Padres broadcast, because they weren't there.
Right. Yeah, it was haunting. To me, it was very haunting to watch and not know what's happening. It was scary.
It was very scary, and it's so scary, and it was because you don't know what's going on, and all over Twitter you have just images of mass shootings, and it's the world we live in, and It was very scary, but all of the news we heard afterwards, and for those that don't know, how could you not know? During the shooting, there were several Padre players that had family members in the stands. Will Myers, Brian O'Grady, Jerickson Profar, and Manny Machado all had family members in the stands. And all those players, including Fernando Tatis Jr., jumped out and ran to the gate on the third base side where they usually house family members and tried to bring him in the dugout. And to quote Fernando Tatis Jr., he said, because someone asked him, did you have any family there? He goes, no, but they're my players' family, so that makes them my family. And when we got there, we realized all these people are humans too. Let's get them all out to the dugout. And so they ran to the dugout, and it was... To see, I'm going to start crying. To see Jace Tingler's reaction, just how proud he was of them, just how proud I am of them. Like, these are my players. And did you see that lady, that Washington Nationals fan?
Oh, yeah.
She said, I can't remember her name at the moment, but you can look it up. Washington Nationals fan, she said she dove underneath her seat as far as she could get in her seat, and then Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. helped her out of into the dugout. And she said for her life, she will be a lifelong Padre fan unless they're playing the Nationals. But she will forever be a Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and Will Myers fan, because she's at that moment, she thought that she saved their lives.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, like, it's hard. It's just one of the weird things about sports, because you already put them in a place. Frankly, you and I love the Padres too much. Just like, we put them in a place of like, oh, they're beautiful beings. Like, my wife thinks I'm like cheating on her with Ha-Sung Kim. It's not true. Maybe.
It's a little true. It's a little true.
Right. Like, and so we kind of make these images of these heroes of our world. And I think you and I are smart enough to know that's not true, right?
Yeah.
But then it's crazy when you see, these are... Will Myers is an $84 million contract to the Padres. Manny Machado is a $300 million contract to the Padres. Tatis has a $340 million contract. And I know money doesn't mean much, like, to them. But you have to understand, like, they have everything in life. And then they chose in an insane moment to do incredibly heroic and human things. Like, it's I don't know. It's crazy to think, like, not only are they incredible athletes, they're actually incredible people. And it just makes me like them more. I mean, just, and I mean, the shot of Jerickson Profar grabbing his kid.
Yeah.
I mean, just his kid is crying. He's running him to the. It's just like, oh my gosh. It's crazy images.
As a year that has given us such great Padre memories already. No hitters to comeback wins.
Daniel Camarena.
The images of our players jumping into the stadium and stands to save people's lives is up there with no hitter. No joke.
Oh, yeah.
It is truly amazing. And it needs to be said that on the opposite side of the field, there were Nationals fans doing the same thing. So they're equally... Again, these are Major League Baseball players that are all millionaires. They don't have to jump out there. But they realized basically those dugouts are bunkers.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, we can get people in here.
This is, as you mentioned, the National. David Martinez had probably one of the funniest quotes. So, a bunch of fans. So in the melee, not the melee, the brouhaha, the mayhem. The Padres unlocked the gate onto the field that the security guards locked. They're like, no, screw it, everyone come out. The Nationals didn't have that. That was too locked for them. So National fans were like, if you watch, are crawling over the dugout and like getting into the dugout as much as possible. So there's a group of fans in the dugout. And then there's a police security guard came up to Dave Martinez, head coach of the Nationals, and was like, "Hey, are these your family?" Like, yeah, they're our family. They're our fans. And he's like, "Yeah, we're not kicking them out. Like they're like we're all part of this." Like, it was just like this one moment of like, I don't care if like this is not about my prestige and status being a baseball player, a baseball manager. Like, if we're humans, like this is one of the, like, I know it's in times of tragedy we're reminded of the depth of human kindness, but it's just an awesome reminder of it, of just, you know, despite all of the horribleness the world can have, is that humans can be pretty awesome to one another.
Exactly. And here's another example. The multi-$1,000 swag chain was just sitting there in the dugout with 60 people. And I doubt any of those people, if you asked them, did you see it, they would have said no. Because everything in their brain was so focused on saving them and protecting themselves and their family. Again, I can't begin to express how much my heart went out for the players and for them, and just that moment. It was a touching moment, Joe. And it was to see things like that in tragedy, it just reminds you that we are all good human beings for the most part.
Yeah.
And baseball is the best sport in the world, and we have the best players in baseball. It's just so, and
I mean,
I'm gonna cheer so hard for Manny Machado now, and Will Myers, and all of them, because they deserve it.
Kevin Acee said, I forgot what the exact quote he said, is like, Tatis had one of his career games this game. It was the game was suspended, and it was played another game. Also, we're not going to mention any of us in the recap. We're going to keep our promise and stick to baseball. So we'll go a little bit more how incredible a game Tatis had this game. But Kevin Acee said, like, that wasn't the most incredible thing he did, was not even baseball related.
Yeah, he
reports already went back and forth multiple kids.
Yes, he is statistically the best base runner in baseball.
Yeah.
Was on full display this game.
Oh, incredible.
He pulled off not one, but two of his incredible baseball type slide, matrix type slides. Right. But nothing. He was excellent defensively. Yeah. He made several great defensive plays. He made an incredible throw. He scored on a infield, basically an infield flyer, just right outside, right behind third base. That caught the ball and he ran home against a pretty good shortstop's arm.
Really good shortstop's arm.
And it was incredible. Everything, but go online, look at the image of him jumping over in the fence from the dugout into the field, because he realized his teammates were running to grab their families and protect them, and he was going to go with them. And he ran out there and he just said, "Everybody come with us. Anybody who wants to come. We're all humans. We're all doing this." At that moment, he's the National League MVP. I don't care what anybody does statistically. DeGrom did not save people's lives. Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, all of the Nationals. It was an incredible feat.
I agree. I mean, I think it was awesome, and they're great humans. And it's just hard. It's hard for us to be bigger fans than we already are.
It really is. I didn't think it was possible, but because I don't think I've ever said the podcast, but I often joke, like whenever they're I have said this podcast. Oh, they're complaining about the shifts. These are mega millionaires. Right. Make the job harder. They're being paid millions of dollars.
And Tatis Jr., by the way, agrees with you. That's what he said in the All-Star break.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, it's part of the game. Just hit better. He's like, yeah, you're right.
And on Sunday's game, he hit that little There was Saturday's game.
It was a Saturday. It ended up being a Saturday and Sunday.
He hit a little check swing double. Because they were playing him to pull, which is stupid because he doesn't pull the ball that much. It was And then, and anyways, I was saying, you didn't think we could have been fans of these guys. We were fans of them as players. Now I'm fans of them as men.
Yeah. That's a good way to say it, James. I will say one final thing about this, and that is I think it's fitting for us to rag on Major League Baseball a little bit. And that little bit is next time there's a shooting in a stadium, just cancel the game. Just call it. Don't postpone it. Just cancel it. Little kids aren't going to want to go to that game again. Like they're done, right? Just cancel the game.
Yeah,
Just the game's over. Don't make them play 2.5 innings the next day. What are we doing?
We texted this back and forth. Like, I'm just agree with you. Like, cancel the game. Just cancel. We played 5 innings already.
Yeah.
Cancel the game.
It was 5.5 innings. Yeah.
5.5 innings. I know they said, well,
we're up 8-4. It wasn't an especially close game.
Yeah, the Nationals didn't have a second chance. Didn't have to finish up the inning. Who cares? They were down 4 runs. There was a shooting. You call a game when it gets slightly moist. Just
Literally, you do. Yeah.
When there's bees, we call a game. I 100% agree with you. Major League Baseball, what are you doing?
James, you want to lighten the mood a little bit?
Just lighten the mood because we need a laugh.
This is a viral tweet from earlier today. You know I love viral tweets. And the viral tweet's a scenario, James. You want to play through a little scenario? Of course we have. We've already researched it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're a highly produced show. We have production assistants. We don't have production assistants. That's just me.
Your daughter has to get older really quickly to be our production assistant.
So the scenario is this. The best baseball player born on your birthday, and we're just going to do our day of our birth, not the actual day and year of our birth, has to get on base to win you $1 million. Let's say $1 billion. $1 billion.
$1 billion. That doesn't tell you how old I am. I don't know what does.
Dating yourself, dude. The pitcher he's facing, so you have to pick someone who was born on your birthday to get you $1 billion. The pitcher he's facing is the Game 1 starter of the World Series champs the year you graduated high school. And if that quote didn't date you, definitely telling us what you... Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
You go first.
I go first because I don't think it's that's exciting. So, there is decent pitching born on my birthday, but not great position players. The best position player I can find is probably Dean Palmer. Do you remember Dean Palmer, James? He played from '89 to 2003. Texas Rangers, Toronto, Kansas City Royals, and then Detroit. He has a career WAR in those 14 years of 13.3. He's just almost one exact player better than a normal player, according to wins above replacement. He has 275 career home runs, though. That's not bad. You'll take that.
Yeah.
OPS plus 107. So he's a little bit better than a normal hitter when it comes to on base plus slugging with park adjusted stats. 1,200 career hits. Not a great prolific hitter. Strikes out a bunch. Yeah, and that's my hitter. And he'd face Jose Contreras, one of the four-headed monsters of the White Sox. Yeah, the White Sox actually won in 2005. People forget this because it's one of the things when you're too dominant, no one cares. Isn't that weird? Like you're just like, oh, so you swept? We're gonna forget about you then. My favorite was we've already broken the barrier of political, so I'll add one more political thing. Someone asked Barack Obama in 2016 if he was excited for the Cubs. He's like, yeah, Chicago hasn't won a World Series in 100 years. And all the White Sox fans are like, why you got to do this, Barack? We won in 2005. Yeah, because they were too good. The 4 starting pitchers of that White Sox series were dominant. Jose Contreras had a career year. It was the best year of his... he wasn't especially good player. 13 career WAR, just like Dean Palmer. in 10 years. So I guess a little better. With 4.57 career ERA. Yeah, I think I lose because I think he played 3 less years and had just the same WAR. I think that means he's a better player, right?
Yes.
I think that means so. I don't get the $1 billion.
All right. So my hitter.
Also, if it was reversed, Cole Hamels would strike anyone out.
That's true.
Cole Hamels was born on my birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Maybe we should do that next time. Find.
he literally went to high school. I'm not going to say that because you'll know. No, I'm not going to tell you how close I'm not going to say that. I don't want you. Don't creep on me, people. He went to high school very close to me.
All right. So, my hitter, real name was Bip Falk.
Was ready to pud Galvin?
No, it's Bibb.
Okay.
Bib August Falk was his name.
Okay. A question: Was he a player when telegraphs were the main means of communication?
Speaking of the White Sox, he was a White Sox.
Okay.
He took over left field because Shoeless Joe Jackson was kicked out of baseball.
Oh my! What a callback!
What a callback! Yeah. So, he had a career WAR of 22.8. Not bad. He started playing in 1920. Played for 12 years.
That's a perfectly fine career.
Perfectly fine career. He had 1,400 hits. So I was trying to think of ways to like how he can be more competitive. So I took the stats from his best year ever.
Yeah.
His best year ever was 1926.
Yeah.
He had 195 hits, 43 triples. He batted 345.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Not a bad hitter at all. His WPA
Win probability added. Yeah.
3.1.
Very good. He's very clutch then.
Very, very clutch. That means the probability of him winning the game was high. The problem is the pitcher he faces would have been the 2001 Arizona Diamondback Curt Schilling.
Not the person you want to face.
Yeah.
I think Randy Johnson's for sure you would never.
Yeah, because Bip was a left-hander.
Yeah. Randy Johnson. So if I correct, so Curt Schilling in this World Series, I think you have a little bit of a chance because I think Randy Johnson was obviously the more. If you're not familiar with baseball, go ahead and just like watch the last 3 innings of the last game of the 2001 World Series, and try to like understand what's happening in that moment, which is Randy Johnson had one of the most epic World Series, World Series you can possibly have as a pitcher. He pitches a full game night before, and then he comes into relief in the top of the ninth in 2001 World Series. The guy was dominant. But just before there was a Madison Bumgarner, people talked about Randy Johnson like Madison Bumgarner.
Madison Bumgarner doesn't even come near what Randy Johnson did. Randy Johnson wanted to win a World Series so bad in his career, he left everything on the field that series. It was impressive. But Curt Schilling that year,
I'm looking at a stat line. He may have not.
That year he won 22-6. He had an ERA of 2.98. I don't see his. I mean,
and for the sake of this, just discussion, we're just going to assume in this fun little fantasy world, everyone had the same level of athletic, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
They were given the same level of training, that whatever. They're variants, so to speak.
Exactly. I
can be topical.
I think if Bip had 4 at bats, he'd get a hit on one of them.
Yeah.
I don't think if it was a first inning, he gets a hit off Curt Schilling.
Yeah, this is the Yankees lose 9-1 to the Diamondbacks this game. Not good.
No. So yeah, I think we both lose this.
I think
this.
we both don't get the $1 billion.
Although we don't get the $1 billion. Although I gotta say, I Bit Falk, I'm another fan of an old timer baseball player I never knew of.
Yep.
Yeah, just the fact that he replaced
Shoeless Joe
Joe
Jackson.
Jackson.
I mean, that's just. We did not coordinate this bit. We did not make that bit viral just for us to make a callback to a previous episode.
previous bit we did last week. Yeah.
Jamesy. That was fun.
That was a fun little reprieve, and
You want to talk about trade rumors just a little bit? Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. There's not a whole lot of them. I will say, we talked about a little bit off air. Do not think we should just dump everything into Gallo. People are way overhyping him. He's a good hitter, a good defender, but he isn't Juan Soto, and he's not someone that's just you dump the farm into getting. Now, if it's Gallo and Gibson, maybe.
maybe, yeah, if we get him as a starter, maybe.
Because we'll talk about it in the recap episode. Padres starting pitching. Not doing so good.
Not doing so good at all at the moment.
We just finished a series where we gave up 20 runs. Thankfully, our offense is rolling, so it didn't matter.
Jorge Mateo got a home run this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. That is a
Oh, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk
It was
about
one of the more fun games of the year.
So yeah, I think that I don't want to give up the farm for Gallo either, and especially since there's probably other players out there you can get.
Yeah, I think someone like Garrett Cooper is a cool ad. Darlene Marte.
Trey Mancini.
There are other ones out there that probably won't get you. And here's the weird thing: fans always assume deeper asking prices than what actually happens, right? If you the worst, what would you say is like the steepest asking price of any of our trades this past year? Like, who do we give it the most for?
Blake Snell.
Right, Blake Snell. But what did we give up? Luis Patino. If you look at value added, Blake Snell has given more value to us than Patino has. I know it's a future bet, but you're like, there still is this wild card. Is Patino going to develop well enough? And it's not like it's hard for us as fans to understand how these things work. But when you make a trade, every single organization has a completely different mindset than fans do. Right? The Rays are literally willing to make 5 bad trades, and they're going to develop one player of every one of them to be okay to decent in their exact scenario. That's not every organization is not like that. Like, the Rangers aren't like that. So, like, trade with the Rangers, you're kind of I do not mean to be this rude to the Rangers organization, but like, what are they going to develop them into? Like, what giving them to them is steep to us, but are they going to develop well? If you trade to the Rays, you kind of know, they're going to develop a really good organization. Like, what I'm trying to say is FOMO's real for fans. Like, what if we give it too much or too less? And you're like, you're not guaranteed anything in baseball. Like, we've had the best catching prospect in baseball and the best pitching prospect in baseball. What are they doing for us right now?
Exactly.
Wander Franco, the best prospect in baseball, had an incredible debut and then really cooled off. These things take time, and you're not guaranteed. Not really guaranteed.
And again, I think if I was AJ Preller, our needs is pitching.
Yeah. Someone who can go 6 innings, please.
I will give. I'm as much as some of our pitch hitting guys have been streaky this year. I think 2 good starters and 1 decent bat off the bench, we're golden. 2 guys that could go 6 or 7 innings. All of a sudden, our bullpen's fixed. We don't need another bullpen arm,
especially considering. I mean, we do have something to talk about. That leads into what's discussion on Lamet today. Tingler said they believe he's going to have a rehab stint, and then they're going to start using him in shorter amounts in the short term, in this year. And Lamet's a heck of a relief pitcher.
He is truly.
like the guy's probably should just be a relief pitcher. Dude's nasty. Like 2-pitch mix that just blows you away either pitch. Like, and so if you think about a scenario where AJ gets 2 starters and we get a bench bat or we get a platoon bat, and then all of a sudden we have Lamet and Melancon, like Lamet probably will not be a closer at the start, but you kind of like go back and forth, and you suddenly have your bullpen needs are kind of fixed a little bit because you have Lamet. Yeah, I mean, I think also Austin Adams becomes more higher leverage too. I don't know. Because another discussion has been like, is Melancon trustworthy? Should we get a more like dominant closer, someone who's just higher strikeout stuff? There really aren't that many guys out there anyway, so it's kind of a tough thing to ask for. But if we get 2 starters, get a bench bat, I think we can make the bullpen with Lamet something that's pretty nasty.
Exactly.
And you think about it in the playoffs, which is something we're aiming to do. We haven't talked about it much, but like the Padres are 5.5 games above the next team in second place wild card. The NL West is going to be a fighting finish. September we play the Dodgers and the Giants a lot. So the West is going to be a tough win, but I think we're securely in the wild card. And if you think about the playoffs, you just need 3 good starters. And if you have 3 good starters, you can just bring guys in and out to be long relief guys, or just 1 inning guys.
Yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't mind seeing Weathers be what he did in last year's playoffs. Long relief guy again, with Darvish and Musgrove and Snell being the main starters, plus someone else. I don't know. I like our chances if we get 2 starters plus a bench bat.
I do too. I 100% agree with you.
Maybe it's Cole. Maybe we'll sign Cole Hamels. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, and we can find out just how close friends you were in high school.
Spoiler alert. Not very.
Spoiler alert. Anyways, I'll try this. Ladies and gentlemen, you can like us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, Stitcher, every place you can find podcasts.
Are we on Stitcher?
Are we on Stitcher?
We must be.
We gotta be, right?
I don't know, actually.
Okay. Didn't you say Stitcher last week?
I think we're on Stitcher.
Anyways, don't forget to hit the notification bell. We're going to try to keep every episode as light as possible. Until next time, go Padres.